we're going to start putting together a color theory vignette. And the purpose of this exercise is to start to get a feel for simplifying images. This is going to help us with our first project, where we'll be working with a little bit of minimalism, and it'll just help keep a lot of detail with our reference images. So we are going to start off by choosing one color. This whole image is going to be monochromatic, meaning you're going to keep it one color, but you can use tints and shades of that color. And you'll see what I mean in just a few minutes. So I'm going to pick this really nice turquoise kind of color, and I'm going to drop it onto the background layer. Your paint bucket tool is hidden underneath the gradient. It's easy to find. You can click once and use your paint bucket tool to drop a color on the background. I'm going to click on my paintbrush, and I'm going to make my paintbrush pretty big. You can adjust the size up here in the options bar, or you can just click the bracket key. I'm clicking the right bracket. It's right near your delete key on your keyboard. And I'm going to make my brush pretty large. I'm going to give a little bit of room for the composition to have a border on the top and bottom, but I'm going to leave this right at the center. So I'm going to double click on my foreground color, and I'm going to slide this up just a little bit so it gets slightly lighter but the same color. I'm going to click once with my mouse, try to center it to the best of your ability. I'm going to click one time, making sure that my brush has a hard edge, push it all the way up to 100. And the reason that we're doing this is so that it looks like a perfect circle. I'm going to repeat that step, make this a little bit lighter, make my brush a little bit smaller, so 2 clicks on the left bracket key, and I'm going to click again, and you should start to get a feel for what I'm doing with this. It's going to look almost like a target at the end, but it's going to give this a little bit of a style. So I'm just sliding this up the foreground color picker, 2 left clicks on the left bracket key, and maybe I'll do one more. It'll be the lightest one. And that's going to go right at the center. Looks kind of like the Looney Tunes logo. All right, so this is going to work as our background. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to build a scene in this composition. So I've decided that I'm going to start with an image of a hot air balloon. And I already have that copied from Google, so I'm going to press Command V to paste. You can see when you paste pictures in, they automatically pop up on their own layer. And I'm going to go into my selection tools and find the object selection, drag that over my hot air balloon so that it selects the hot air balloon. Perfect. And I want to delete everything around the balloon. To do this, you can press Command-Shift-I. It will select everything around the balloon. You can see it's around the whole canvas now. And when you press delete, it's gone. So the background is completely gone. I'm going to do that shortcut one more time to bring the selection just back inside the balloon. So invert this again, Command-Shift-I, and now just the balloon is selected. I'm going to pull this color and put it into this shape. So to eyedrop a color from around your composition somewhere, you can just click I. One time, you'll see that little eyedropper icon appears, and when you click, you'll see down here your foreground color is now this same color. You could use your paintbrush to fill this in, and I think that's going to be the easiest thing, so that's what I'm going to do. Once you have everything filled in, press Command-D to deselect. So now we have a nice little silhouette of a hot air balloon, and I actually think it might look better if I duplicate this. So I'm going to Option and click so that it duplicates. Transform it to get a little bit smaller. That's Command-T. And I'm going to lower it just a little. So I think I'm going to try to fill the sky with more hot air balloons. I'm going to experiment with this a little bit because I'm making it up as I go. And it's always okay if you start working on something and it's not quite working and you have to pivot a little bit. That's part of the creative process. So you can always change your mind and start to work on it a little bit differently. All right, so far so good. I'm going to pull in some other elements from Google Images and we'll see what kind of scene we can build. So let's go into Google Images and maybe I'll look for a mountain range so that I can start to put these over mountaintops. When you're looking for images, try to keep them kind of simple because we do have to use selection tools to separate them and fill them with different colors. So maybe this one would work. I might use this one up here so I can delete the sky. So let me try this one first. Copy image, go back into Photoshop, and paste. I'm going to drag this up to the top of my layers palette so I can see it. And once again, you might have to experiment with different selection tools. Let's see if I can select the mountains with the object selection. It selected one part of the mountain range. All right, we're getting a little bit more. I'm holding down the Shift key to see if it'll select a lot at the same time. I'm going to try to get that middle part of the mountain range selected as well. So each time I'm dragging this, I'm holding down Shift and dragging it again with my mouse. Shift allows you to select more than one object at once. You can do this with files on your computer. You can do this with layers, and you can also do it with the tools that you're using. All right, that looks pretty good. I know I'm missing a little bit, but not too bad. And once again, I'm going over to my brush and I'm going to just color this in. There you go. You can see the pieces that are missing, but I'm going to fill this in. I'm going to press Command-Shift-I once again to select everything around this image, delete that unwanted space, and now I'm going to actually deselect this for a minute. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to start to color in those pieces that are missing. So we're trying to simplify this as much as we can, and I'm keeping everything the same color for a reason. The reason that I'm doing this is so that when I move it, it's actually going to blend in with the background. That's what I want. I'm pulling in pictures so I can kind of cut this off a little bit, and this will start to look more almost like the sun shining or something like that, the sun setting, and it doesn't just look like a bunch of circles. It looks more connected to the rest of the composition. So I'm just going in with the same color brush, and you can see little by little this is kind of blending together. And maybe I'll even add some more hot air balloons. This one looks very large compared to the other ones, but it should be a little bit bigger so that you can understand the vantage point of the viewer. But maybe I'll do a few out here in the distance so that you can understand that they're traveling above the mountain range. That will also help lead the viewer's eye through your composition a little bit, so you can adjust these as you need. So this is a pretty good start. I think I'm going to add a little bit more, but this is how I want you to start building these compositions. Start with that background. You can do it easily just with your paintbrush in different shades of the color that you choose, and then you're going to start to build a scene using images, a selection tool, and filling them in with similar colors.